You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott and Brandon Stokley talking some NFL each and every week here on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network. So the NFL unveils their schedule. The NFL is built, Pete Rozelle modeling at parity and the whole bit, even the scheduling where, your three games that are miscellaneous, you paired up with the teams that have the same order of finish in your division. So, but there's some inequities, to say the least, as far as they're trying to best for television ratings and maybe skipping a little bit as far as the rest is concerned. I mean, you've had players tell us, they don't start feeling normal to 4 days after and things like that. We know about at the college level, like Alabama and LSU, they would take their bye right before they would play each other every week. And in rivalry week, they play a rent-a-win before those games. So, they tried to soften it up as much as possible. Before we get into some of the teams that are benefiting and then also suffering from the rest elements in the NFL schedule, Brandon, how big of a factor is this as far as a team will have 4 days extra, a team coming off of a bye, playing a team that went on a Monday night, not only Monday night, but a road game Monday night, and then, playing them there. How big of an advantage a big of a deal is it?
Yeah, I think it is a big deal. You're talking about a violent contact sport where if you get a couple extra days of rest more than your opponent does, that's beneficial, right? You see the injury rate. Guys are always banged up. So if you get a little bit extra time, that certainly could help you out a lot. I've had seasons where it just feels like I can't stay healthy. And I've had seasons where we do have a bye week and I want to keep playing. And I want to keep going because we're playing good football. You want to keep that momentum going. So it's a fine line. And right now, you don't know how you're going to be playing, in week 8. You don't know how your body's going to be feeling in week 8, week 9, when maybe your bye week is happening. So, it's one of those things where sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you get unlucky. But certainly, like having a few extra days more than your opponent is an advantage.
Yes, indeed. So the team this is interesting because the team that is benefiting the most is the team's the number one seed in the AFC last year, and when that was that Christmas night game where they went to San Francisco and it was possibly a Super Bowl preview, they demolished the San Francisco 49ers and were the favorite to win the whole thing. We know they were upset at home by Kansas City. Jackson, again, kind of having a rough day. And also several mental breakdowns by Baltimore throughout the day and causing them unsportsmanlike conducts left and right. Their division is tough. We know about that. Probably the toughest division in all of football. They're matched up with the AFC West. 3 of the 4 teams are rebuilding in the AFC West. In the NFC East, top heavy, bottom light. So favorable there. But, man, this team needs any extra rest element to help them out. They're over on their win total is at 10.5. That is tempting to take the over with this thrown in there.
It is. My biggest concern, is their best player, is Lamar Jackson. Can he stay healthy? Obviously, last year he did. He won the MVP. He was great. The 2 previous seasons, he couldn't. So, if he stays healthy, I like the over there. And you're right, that division's tough. It's going to be tough. It always is tough. But you got to factor in, can Lamar and his style of play stay healthy for a full season? And he did it last year, and they looked great during the regular season, and he played great, obviously. But can he do it again?
And that division, it just doesn't let up. Everybody is, just really, really tough. And I guess Deshaun Watson may take another step is because he's never been his Houston form, but he started to show a little bit of improvement.
Yeah, I think so, Jimmy. I think you're looking at this year. You finally got everything behind you, and the offense. You should be comfortable with what's going on there in Cleveland. And, you had the surgery, should be completely healthy, have a full offseason to build on for next year. Yeah, I'm expecting Deshaun Watson to be better than what we've seen in the last couple of years.
The next two teams that are benefiting the most from the rest element of the schedule is the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, with a rookie quarterback and a solid division, they're matched up with the NFC West and AFC South. Philadelphia Eagles, and we've already talked about the Eagles, how we love what they did in the draft. Now you're going to throw in some favorable scheduling as well. They play the NFC South. That's easy. AFC North, though, so those kind of offset each other. But Philadelphia in their win total at 10.5. Brandon, I would assume you're on the same page. We're on the same page with this as well. Only strengthens our opinion on the Eagles having a good season.
Yeah, absolutely. A team like that, that's a veteran team that, all they've done is add to a really solid, talented group. With Saquon, you took care of your two receivers, and I think sometimes you got to take a step back before you take a step forward. It's always hard the year after losing the Super Bowl, and they started off so hot and then faded. But I think all of a sudden you have a little bit more time to reflect. I think you're going to see more of the Philadelphia Eagles that we saw a couple years ago than we did at the end of that last year.
The team that suffers the worst. This is interesting because it's also a very good team that was in the Super Bowl, a team that has been the most successful team in the in the NFC, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. So they might be favored in all 6 of their divisional games. They're matched up with the AFC East, 3 of the 4, and that's kind of tough. But the NFC North is kind of average, so a little tough. But their win total 11.5. Is this something, especially with that physical brand of play that they have? San Francisco, does this give you a little cause for concern?
It does. I mean, that's a big number. Obviously, they're a very talented football team, and then you put on top of it, them not getting as much rest as their the other teams out there, and we've seen them how the injury bug has affected them over the last few years. So. If that team can stay healthy, they're very dangerous, obviously. But injuries have always hurt them, it seems like. And so, that's a big number, though, Jimmy. That's a big number.
I agree, and that cause I've always been high on San Francisco, but with that number throwing in, they suffer the worst as far as the rest element of the schedule. The one is in your neck of the woods, and this is interesting because first year head coach. Sean Payton, they went 8-9. Okay, well, the natural rate of progression, you think they're going to, improve upon that. But you draft a rookie quarterback, and it's rebuilding, and now you deal with some unfavorable rest situations. I mean, they're matched up with the AFC North. That's the toughest division in football. They're going to play all 4 of those teams. We just talked about that. Also, the NFC South is on the weaker side, to say for sure. But 5.5 is the total. And, man, that's tempting with a Sean Payton coach team. Has he ever had a team that's going 7 games under 500? He has not. I mean, that is a low total, but here's something else that is a factor that may cause concern.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then you look at it, they only have 8 home games this year. I think 9 away games. So that's another thing that you can factor in here. Rookie quarterback, I mean, you got to play the guy right away. Sean Payton isn't wasting time here. So I'm expecting him to start from day one and play a lot of football. But you look at the cap situation with Russell Wilson, the cap hit that they took, weren't able to really go out there and be aggressive in free agency. So there's still a lot of holes to fill. I think they're going to be a young football team. They're going to play a lot of young guys. So, me right now, I would take the under on that.
And the Indianapolis Colts are the team that suffer the worst, the third most, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen got to be impressed, 9-8 with 16 of the 17 games started with a backup quarterback, a journeyman quarterback. And I don't know if I was more impressed with he had a winning season and had some key injuries, or that would happen to Hurts and the Eagles offense after he left them. But the Colts in an unfavorable position here with their rest element to their schedule.
Yeah, I think you look at Shane Steichen and what he was able to do in Philly and then take it over to, like you said, to Indy. And then you saw the effect there in Philly. They weren't the same football team. So I think that guy's a heck of a football coach, did a great job last year. And now it's all Anthony Richardson. What can Anthony Richardson do? and didn't get to play a whole lot last year. Seemed like he was banged up a lot. So he's got to stay healthy, got to stay on the football field. But I like that. I like that roster. I like Shane Steichen as a football coach. So Indy's going to be tough. They're going to be a good football team.
Are you is the rest of the city of Denver kind of what just happened there in the last 16 minutes of the game or something after a 20-point second half lead? I mean, it's and in the Malone, I mean, really, really nasty with the media after saying stupid questions where they were just asking, I mean, how's it feel? You lost a 20-point lead and eliminated. What's
Jimmy.
your thought?
Oh man, just sick. I mean, they fought back from an 0-2 hole there and lost both games at home. And then, they took the lead 3-2 and then it was all tied up coming home. You had what you want. Who was going to start fast? And the Nuggets started fast. 15-point lead at halftime, scored the first 5 points in the third. You're up 20. You just can't lose that basketball game at home. How did it happen? I don't know how it happened, but it did happen. Credit to Minnesota. They made the plays when it mattered the most. The momentum started going towards Minnesota there, middle of the third, and the Nuggets just never could stop it. And it's a shame because they had it, and they let them off the hook. So, but Minnesota went out there and did what they needed to do there in the second half and made some plays. So they're a fun team to watch. Michael Malone's got to handle himself better. Got to. You can't do that. The opening question of the press conference. That wasn't a stupid question. That was a good question. You had a 20-point lead and you blew it. That was a question that needed to be asked. He needs to handle that better, certainly. Obviously, he's upset about the situation, but you still got to be a professional and handle it a lot better than he did in that situation.
They'll be back each and every week with Brandon Stokley. I'm Jimmy Ott here in the Sports Bettor's Paradise. All right, Jimmy Ott with you here again on Bet Rivers Network, Sports Bettor's Paradise. Last week, the three competitive series, you had the Boston Celtics series against Cleveland Cavaliers, and then the other three were like, man, I like them all at 2 apiece. They're going to get back. Home court is going to hold serve, and we'll get back to Game 7. And like the Pacers to win on the road, check. That was plus 300. Well, the Thunder had a big lead to get it back to Game 7. I'm sorry. The Thunder had a big lead to get it back to Game 7. They blew that one 2.5 seconds away. And you know what? Every bad beat has a chance to middle or hedge. And you certainly had a hedge or middle opportunity. I took 10.5 at one point in the second quarter with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And, well, it insured my original bet. I thought I had a real shot at a middle for quite some time, but that run by the T-Wolves never stopped. So picked up a unit on that one. Looking at the two NBA series in the conference finals, same thing. Look for a little bit of a price. And, Boston, the chalk is for Boston to win in 5. That's usually hold serve at, when you have a monster favorite like this, hold serve at home, which has been tough for Boston in recent history. And then split on the road, come back and win on your home court in 5. I'm going to say that Boston plays with their food just enough to kind of, maybe throw in a couple of losses of the first 5. Like Boston in 6 at plus 450, way more at a price than the Boston in 5 at plus 160. So we're going to go with Boston plus in 6, plus 450. At Bet Rivers right now. Speaking of the NBA postseason, think who's going to set the tone for the game. Make that bet at Bet Rivers and you'll pick up an extra bonus with the first bucket bet and get promo all through the NBA playoffs. Place a wager on who will make the first basket of any NBA game. When you do it, Bet Rivers will give you a profit boost to use in another bet. Depending on your loyalty level, you get a boost from anywhere from 25% and as much as 100%. See the Bet Rivers app for full details on the first bucket bet and get promo right now. And that's been fun as of late. Very, very good for the short attention span and a really nice bonus bet boost as well. T-Wolves and the Mavs here. So Mavericks, the 4 seed, upset the 1. So T-Wolves having to go on the road for a Game 7. If there's a Game 7 in this series, they will be at home in Minneapolis, St. Paul. To the T-Wolves, we're going to take them in 6, though. I think they Boy, they're just defense in the offensive era of basketball where a team like the Indiana Pacers can somehow get to a conference finals. I think that's more of how weak that side of the bracket is. But the T-Wolves did it with defense, and they just smothered Denver in that second half, especially in Game 7. They did it against some teams in earlier in the postseason as well. So I like the T-Wolves and all of the guys. A guy like Naz Reid, who was doing a great job on Joker. They, better job than the defensive MVP and Rudy Gobert. And they've got excellent perimeter defenders, Ant-Man for sure, and Edwards. Love the T-Wolves. Look, both are coming off of emotional wins, so that's not a big deal. Dallas, 16-point playoff deficit. That was the biggest deficit where they overcame and got a win out of it. And certainly didn't want to go back to Oklahoma City for Game 7. So taking the T-Wolves in 6 at a nice price at plus 500 right now at Bet Rivers. And then looking at a future in baseball, looking at direction of a team. Boy, I don't know exactly if they led the league or led the majors in blown saves, but it's up there. Blown saves / bad losses. And that is the Houston Astros. They got their fair share of the problems with the rules again. But at 21-26, they're all of a sudden they're starting to get a little bit hotter. So that started with the tail end of Detroit. They won that series on the road, and then they swept the Oakland A's 4 games, and then took another series against Milwaukee. So that is 7 of 8, and Bregman was batting around 200. He's busting out of it in a big way. That's one of the reasons, and so that bullpen has performed better as well. So the Astros at plus 200 to win the AL West right now. I think they've got they've certainly been there. They've won it how many times in a row? Even with Texas winning the whole thing, it was still the Astros that won the division. So I think the Astros to win the AL West division at plus 200. It's a pretty good buy right now. Not sure how much longer that's going to be around. Each and every week here on the Bet Rivers Network, the Sports Bettor's Paradise. I'm Jimmy Ott.